Religion was a part of our culture long before the missionaries came. We gave thanks every day for the grass, and the water, the food, everything. And we gave thanks to the Great Spirit, which is God. And the missionaries came and they brought the Word. And from that Word, and from that seed, it was planted throughout the Dakota territories.
Now, the missionaries are very dedicated people. It's customary in some revisionist circles to think of the missionaries as exploiting Indians. You know, they say first they fell upon their knees, then they fell upon the Aborigines. But that's not the way it was. These were people who came out and shared the hardships of their life with the Indians, brought with them many of the blessings of civilization like turnips and garden crops. You know, the first loom brought up in this part of the state was at Lac Oparo, the first corn grinder, and they set up schools. Well, you have a chance to learn read and write. And the Indians all profited materially, even if they didn't all appreciate it spiritually. Dr. Thomas Williamson was the one who started everything. And the Indian agent arranged a meeting with Joseph Renville, and he ends up at Lac Oparo.
The Dakota culture had, at this location, not had much influence by the white man as yet, and they were hunters and gatherers, and they did a little farming, but on a very small scale. Joseph Renville was open to having a missionary and teachers here to teach the Dakota people and his children. We're near the site of Thomas Williamson's cabin that he erected in 1836. He was the first missionary to the Dakota people in what is now Minnesota. He came here in 1835. When Thomas Williamson arrived here, he found out he couldn't preach the gospel because he didn't have the words to make them understand. And thankfully, Joseph Renville was here and helped with that type of thing.
He didn't speak Dakota to start with, and it took years to pick that up. Same for Riggs. They later said that if they realized how badly they were ruining the language when they preached, they might have been discouraged.
He had met the Pond brothers who had got here the year previous, and they had started learning Dakota, and they helped him out. In fact, a year later, Gideon Pond came out here to help him and the other missionaries with the language.
They would have came, sat down amongst us, come into our teepees, enjoy a meal with us.
When the Europeans came to this country, they didn't, had they sat down and really build a relationship and ask, what are your ceremonies? And once you understand that, then you realize, hey, these aren't pagans. They're really worshiping God too, in their own way.
One thing that helped Dr. Williamson was the fact that he was a medical doctor. His work was to build relationships, to get to know the people better and understand them before he actually tried to convert them. The final goal of Dr. Williamson's life was to complete the Bible and translate into Dakota.
And Joseph Renville translated from his French Bible, which Henry Sibley gave him, into Dakota. And of course, he spoke Canadian French. They were lucky to get 3-4 verses done in one night. But they worked at it persistently. And Williamson should have died of old age. He had many maladies, but he wasn't willing to die until he finished the Bible. They did the New Testament first. So at St. Peter, he finished off the last of the Bible and died shortly after. I think you can say that the missionaries made God glad that he created them.